Does Resident Evil conform to the conventions of its genre hybrid? Resident Evil is a film about a virus that has escaped in a secret facility called the Hive, turning the staff into zombies. The military team is sent to shut down the computer and get out, fighting their way past zombies, mutants, and the computer itself before the virus escapes and infects the rest of the world. Rick Altman says that you should be able to identify the genre of a film immediately because there are codes and conventions of genres that make it easy to identify the genre. These are also used as a set of guidelines when making a film so that creators know what audiences enjoy watching. Genre helps audience differentiate between the styles, themes, and types of narrative so they know what they enjoy watching. Therefore, hybrid genes will attract more viewer amusement. The film Resident Evil is a hybrid genre film and it conforms to the conventions of its three genres, which are sci-fi, horror, and action. Throughout the film, we get to see the genre expatiate, starting with sci-fi, then horror elements, then action brought into the film to create the thrilling factor. The opening sequence of this film is an explanation of the Umbrella Corporation and its experimental base. Then we see a scientist handling the T-virus with mechanical arms. He puts it in a lockable suitcase, and as he runs away, he throws one, and it breaks, causing the virus outbreak to the whole building. From the first few moments of Resident Evil, we can see that it's a sci-fi film because the theme of the images in the intro is high-tech electronics and it has scientific concepts. However, the more you watch, we can see aspects of more horror elements of the film, like the suspense scene in the elevator after the outbreak. Also, the dark colours and music in the film have horror elements. Then we start to see the action side of the film, when the military group comes to save the world. We see more conventional action, genre fighting, guns and military people. This movie conforms to three genres because it has the conventional qualities of all three genres. Codes and conventions of sci-fi genre we see in Resident Evil. Dystopian society. Dystopians generally project into the future and the fears of the present. Resident Evil is a dystopian society because the world is being corrupted by the T-virus and eventually everyone becomes a zombie. We really get to see the actual view of the dystopian world at the end of the film, where Alice is alone in this bedlam world for the first time. Leaving the film with an open ending creates anxiety that characterizes the crisis situation, and this makes the audience want to see more of the film. Sci-fi films always have a science concept. In this film, the T-virus is a science project run by scientists that causes the disruption in the film. Scientific advancement and futuristic technologies. We see a lot of high technology equipment in this film, like mechanical machines, chemicals, and futuristic technology, including the life-threatening complicated laser room. The evil character in the film is a computer-generated machine called the Red Queen. Therefore, the conflict between good and evil is the military trying to shut down this artificial intelligence to save humanity and their own lives. Film techniques like special effects. Special effects and CGI is usually used in sci-fi film to create fictional characters that are not possible to create in live action. Common sci-fi narrative we see is the development of new technology, political systems, or scientific principles that causes a disruption, thus creating a mission for our characters to fix. In Resident Evil, the new scientific development is a T-virus that causes the corruption of the world, going into the horror genre codes and conventions we see in Resident Evil. Dark colours and lightings are used to create the unnatural atmosphere. Jump scares, flashbacks, quick flashing shots. These are used to build tension. Young children are often in horror films because they are vulnerable and people feel empathy towards them. In Resident Evil, the computer generates a little girl's image representing the Red Queen. Scary creatures like the zombie makeup and costume, CGI monsters, gory images, death and blood. Codes and conventions of action we see in Resident Evil. Action movies have a fast-moving plot and fast cut editing. Scenes of violence like fighting, fast cars, guns, police or military. The heroes are usually put into a series of challenges that typically include physical threats. The military in Resident Evil has challenges on their way to shut down the computer and keep getting challenges along the way trying to save lives. Intense music is used to set the atmosphere. There is a lot of fast, energetic music in Resident Evil to create the intense atmosphere. Specific locations like the Hive, which is an underground laboratory. Slow motion choreography like fly kicks are used in fighting scenes. Action movies always have a good versus bad plotline. The hero fights against the evil. In Resident Evil, the group of heroes is the military that is fighting against this evil computer generator called the Red Queen. This film challenges the typical gender roles we see in film because instead of having a strong male protagonist character who saves the world, there are two strong independent women characters in this film. One of them is Rain, who starts off as the strong, independent, brave character, and throughout the whole film she stands out as the brave, strong character. Even though she was the first to get bit by the zombies, she manages to pass all challenges and survive till the very last scenes of the film. The other strong independent character is Alice, as her representation evolves over time. She starts off as a typical weak female character who needs to be saved by the heroes. However, throughout the film, she developed into the protagonist character that she is now because she becomes stronger. The director Paul Anderson manipulates with all three genres nicely in this film, giving the audience what they regularly want to see. Peter Suderman in his article says that it's the most reliably successful brainless action franchises in the Hollywood landscape. This is because Resident Evil is a blockbuster film that has so many criticisms and controversies around the narrative of the film. However, Paul Anderson uses all three genre codes and convention, correctly making a blockbuster film that people will typically enjoy watching. Therefore, Resident Evil conforms to its genre hybrid's conventions.